Today is Ram Navami. It celebrates the birth of Lord Ram. Now, Ram and the building of the Ram temple is also central to the BJP's rebirth as a political party. The BJP's 2024 manifesto has said they will hold Ramayana Utsavs across the world to document and promote the tangible and intangible legacy of Lord Ram in key countries worldwide. They propose to elevate Lord Ram as a central icon of Indian diplomacy, paving the way for its core Hindutva ideology to be a part of India's new diplomatic lexicon. Now, Ram Rajya is an ancient concept and it was Gandhiji who popularized it. Lord Ram and the Ayodhya Ram temple are symbols of Ram Rajya. It's also an ideal polity, the state of perfect justice, a state where justice is easily accessible to both prince and pauper. So is Ram Rajya a religious, political or a secular concept? Can Lord Ram play a role in shaping the nation's international engagements? Joining me to discuss this are Ambassador Gauri Shankar Gupta, Neena Rai and Ami Ganatra, and of course my colleague, English Cluster Editor, Rakesh Khar. Sir, I want to start by asking you the first question. Ram Navami today, and it's interesting how the BJP has transformed Ram from just an icon of the Ram temple movement which revived the BJP into more of an international diplomatic icon. And if you hear what Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar said at the launch of his book, where he said, several references to the Ramayana and the rise of India, that is Bharat. Do you see the BJP crafting the Ram and Ramayana iconography into something of a Vikas Bhi or Virasat Bhi plank?
Hi, Sandeep, you put it very correctly. Vikas or Virasat, I think that's the twin ideological plank that BJP under Modi is pushing through both in the domestic and the international market. I think the tone for what you're asking was said by Prime Minister on the Pran Pratishtha Day, when he said, Ram is energy, not fire. Ram is solution, not the problem. I think, in today's VUCA world, remove the divinity for a moment and remove BJP, from the perspective for a minute. If you look at the global, environment in the geopolitical, geoeconomic situation, there is so much strife, and every day the strife quotient is, so to say, dominating all of us. It's overwhelming us. In that context, I think Ram is, it's a panacea to many ills. Not just from a religious perspective, both from the justice perspective, from the social order perspective, from the perspective of inclusion. So I think the world is looking forward to a template where we borrow from the Ram textbook and in regard to managing expectations, managing conflict, managing relationships and bringing about inclusion. And I think in one sentence, if I can conclude before we move on to the other guests, the emerging new world order where India has to play a more important role needs a new Maryada Purushottam as the pivot for the new international order. That Maryada is the key to amity in the global arena.
The Maryada Purushottam being a key to amity in the global world. And interesting that how Ramayana and Ram have become, like icons for this rise of Bharat, as Foreign Minister Jaishankar put it.
Absolutely. I think, Bharat is a nomenclature which is more political in nature. Of course, it borrows and draws from the civilizational perspective. But when you take it to the world at large, when you export it as a soft power, that's what I think BJP is trying to do. And I would imagine, Sandeep, I'm not wrong in saying that the entire political polity in this country, there would be wide consensus on positioning Ram as a global template. I don't think Congress, maybe left to some extent, but everybody else, who sees Ram slightly removed from the divinity, more in the sense of governance and a larger social inclusive architecture, would be happy to, so to say, make Ram go places in the international arena.
Interesting, Ram going places in the international arena. We got two great authors with us this evening. Ami Ganatra, of course. Ami, I want to start by asking you, what are the common aspects of the Ramayana? Ramayana is a text that's found all across Southeast Asia. Of course, the interpretations of the Ramayana are very different when you move from Thailand to Indonesia and, of course, to Cambodia. What is the common civilizational connect between all of these countries and the Ramayana? How is Ram, this unifying icon amongst this entire Southeast Asian region?
Thank you, Sandeep, for having me here. Shubh Ram Navami to all of you today. Um, if you see, the story of Ram is known across Southeast Asia. And
Yes.
what is very interesting is this, that if you go to Thailand, the
Yeah.
Rajas, the kings there are called Ram 1, Ram 2,
Yes,
वगैरह
the
वगैरह, right?
Rama the 10th is the current
Correct.
ruler of Thailand. Yes.
Correct. So that itself is an answer to your question. What is
Right.
the commonality? While there might be differences, and they'll have some story about where did Sitama origin, what were some
Right.
of these relations, what was the character of Hanumanji,
Yes.
they might be a little different.
Right.
But what is common across all
Yes.
is that how was Sri Ram as an administrator? How was he as a Raja?
Right.
The concept of Ram Rajya, it is about a state
Right.
which is happy, where
Yes.
all the citizens
Right.
have the right to grow, to not just materially, spiritually, emotionally, everywhere. Sarve dharma parabhavat, sarve mudita mevasit. Everybody used to be very happy. Everybody
Right.
had full stomachs. Everybody had enough to give and share. There was absolute justice. And there was a lot of dignity to what people did.
Right.
And why did all this happen? Because Sri Ram knew one concept of governance. Put the praja sarvopari.
Right.
The citizens come before everybody else. Your entire administrative system, your setup, is tuned to the needs and the aspirations of the people. If
Right.
all governments work like this, keeping
Yes.
in mind not just their people, but the world at large, we
Right.
would be a much better place.
Absolutely.
So that's how Sri Ram is understood
Right.
across the globe.
Neena, since I want to bring you in here, is the fact that you're an author, you write at the intersection of politics and history and culture. Now, the BJP had 2 seats in 1984, and it adopted the Ram Temple movement. And in '89, it got 85 seats, and it's not looked back as a political party ever since. But this new phenomenon of, as our guests have just told us, this new phenomenon of Ram and Ram Rajya becoming much more than just about a political party, becoming something of a nation's rise, India's rise in the global world. How do you see this playing out in the next couple of years?
So I think it will play out very well in the next couple of years. And if the BJP is going to follow this theme, then it'll do them very good. Not only it'll do them good, but it'll do India also good. Another thing I want to point out is this little fallacy. The fallacy is that because of Ram, it is when they started promoting Ram, from 2 seats they increased. No, this is the wrong way of looking at it, and I don't mean it as an offense.
Right.
The thing is that Ram's wave was always there. It was consciously not being heard by other parties.
Right.
The wave of Ram has always been there, the adherence to his principles, him being followed as the ideal king by each and every royal, princely state of India. You
Right.
take a look at the princely states, the names are royal names, either on Manu or Raghu or Ram or any of the lineage, or Vishnu, or
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say, Ram was always there. There was this, thing with the other political parties. They were forcing Ram out of the picture.
Right.
The BJP saw that the Hindus, especially the devout Hindus, and
Yes.
let me tell you, it is the devout Hindus that bring the swing votes, because of which also BJP always wins.
Yes.
So it was the devout Hindus who were not going out and voting, because nobody was talking about Ram and the Ram temple and Ram
Right.
Rajya and the dharmic Hindu values. So it will do well in the future, because it is, capitalizing on the mass sentiment. See,
Right,
you
right.
and I sit in, sort of echo chambers, and we, most of the people, most of the educated India, the tax-paying India, they're the 3% of the population. But
Right.
what about the rest of the population? How do they see India? How do they see Ram? That is very important. And I think going further, they have done a very wise decision on promoting Ramayana, doing these festivals, and taking the glory of India abroad. Apart from the fact that India is now rising slowly and steadily into in a few years, a superpower.
Right.
The soft power has to come with it. So
Soft
I think
power. And in fact,
Yes.
interesting expression there, Neena. Thanks very much. Soft power. Ambassador Gupta, I want to bring you in on this point. About 20 years back, the Chinese set up these Confucius centers in 2004, if you remember, across the world to promote Chinese soft power. And today you have the government of India proposing the Thiruvalluvar centers across the world to promote Indian soft power. And of course, Ram and Ramayana are going to be a very key aspect of that. How do you see this being, will the Ramayana be as acceptable worldwide as they are, say, in Southeast Asia?
Thank you very much for this debate and for inviting me on this wonderful day of Ram Navami. First of all, let me tell you that Ramayana and Mahabharata, they are the civilizational legacy of India. If you take them out, the Indian civilization will not exist as it does today.
Right.
They are the most valuable foundation of our civilization, of our society, of our history and our culture. So linking it to a particular party, in my view, is not very right. Secondly, let me tell you one very good instance. When I was posted in the Philippines as Deputy Chief of Mission, there was a ASEAN summit held there that time. And they were looking for one common cultural event, which is common to all the ASEAN countries, all the 10 ASEAN members.
Yes.
And you know what they came out with? They came out with a play on Ramayana.
Absolutely.
Because that was common to all the 10 ASEAN countries.
Right.
Now, I have traveled in that part of the world. You can see that Ramayana exists in every single ASEAN countries.
Right.
There is a Filipino version, there is a version in Malay, there is an Indonesian version, there is a Cambodian version, there is a Burmese version. You look any country, you will find that.
Every country has
Even
one version of the Ramayana with, the stories of course are told very differently. We wouldn't recognize them in India because some of the conclusions of many of the stories are pretty startling. But
because they're very, very ancient stories.
Yes, they're all ancient,
and then
so I think
even
they've
within
gone
India,
through
for example, if you look, there's a Tamil version, there's a Telugu version, there's a Bengali version, and all versions of Ram are available.
Right.
So Ram is rooted in the civilizational values of India, and Indian soft power has also taken that away to Southeast Asia, to other places in the world.
Right.
The second important point is that if there's an ideal human behavior anywhere, that is seen in Ram.
Right.
Actually, if you look at the beginning of Ramayana, it begins with the fact that actually Valmiki asked Narad that suggest me one of the ideal human beings who has been perfect person, who is virtuous, who is dutiful, who is truthful, all those adjectives he used. And then Narad replied that it is the prince of Ikshvaku dynasty Ram who fulfills all these requirements. So if we have an ideal human behavior, I think that can be seen in Ram. So there's no harm in looking at Ram as an ideal human being in every respect, whether as king, whether as a father, or whether as son, or as a friend, or a husband. In every variety of role which we perform, Ram can be seen there.
The personification, absolutely, yes. Thank you, Ambassador Gupta. Mr. Khar, exactly what you just said, that Ram being the ideal model human being, the ideal husband, the ideal father, the ideal son, and all of these embodying the ideals that India kind of stands for on the world stage, as upholding the path of truth, the honesty and all of that. Would this, you think, in the BJP's third term, if the government comes back, do you see this as becoming increasingly a key aspect of our diplomacy? There are indications as of now in 2024, as Foreign Minister Jaishankar has started introducing it, Prime Minister Modi has been speaking, but do you see a big outreach of the way we saw yoga in the second term of the Modi government?
Sandeep, I think, the government, if Modi comes back in his third term, would obviously try and, so to say, leverage this as a key component of the overall soft power policy. Modi has been spending a lot of time trying to harness the soft power quotient from the Indian perspective, and we've had some, initial breakthroughs there. I think one wouldn't be surprised if Ram becomes a centerpiece of that policy. And if you look at it in context, both Mahabharata and Ramayana are, so to say,
Yes.
the right for us all to exist from the
Absolutely.
civilizational perspective.
Right. They're pillars to
But
Indian
if you do a
civilization
comparison
story.
between Ramayana and Mahabharata, why
Right.
Ramayana? Why not Mahabharata as the, so to say,
Right.
spokesperson
Yes.
for the global template?
yes.
It is precisely for the reasons that all of our esteemed guests pointed
Right,
out,
right.
that Maryada Purusham, that ideal character,
Yes.
which combines all the perspectives that are available today.
Right.
And if I may say so, the proof of the idea is already there. I
Yes.
keep saying one of the key reasons that India-born managers
Right.
drive global boardrooms.
Yes.
I have identified 3 key attributes for that.
Right.
And they all go back to some of the learnings from both Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Right.
I say Indian minds, right from the alphabet to the Googles
Yes.
of the world to the tech companies to the non-tech companies.
Right.
Chanel being the latest example. Neena Rai, becoming the first
Yes.
woman to be the global CEO. It is 3 Qs: SQ, IQ, EQ,
Right.
and then CQ.
Right.
SQ is the spiritual quotient.
Yes.
Their ability to navigate conflict.
Right.
That strength from internal engine that comes
Right.
about to
Right.
manage conflict, and conflict is inherent to growth.
Right.
That is what Mahabharata points out.
Yes.
So in that
Yes.
sense, these 3 attributes are our exports already to the world.
Right.
If they've done really well, of course, they're all very, very outstanding people who are driving these global boardrooms. But what makes them tick and grow in this global competitive environment are these 3 or 4 attributes: the spiritual quotient, the emotional
Right.
quotient, the cultural quotient, and then the intelligence quotient, which
Right.
is common globally. But
Absolutely.
these 2 quotients, which essentially emanate from the civilizational perspective,
Right.
make them really outstanding, stand as the top star leaders in the global boardrooms. And that's what I think is going to become a bigger piece
Right.
once we move outside of the boardroom as well.
Absolutely interesting how the epics still find so much of resonance not only in politics but geopolitics, and as you've pointed out, Mr. Khar, into the boardrooms as well. And in fact, one of the Bollywood directors that I was speaking to had a very interesting perspective, and he said that that the difference between the Ramayana and the Mahabharata is the Ramayana is the way we want the world to be, and the Mahabharata is the way the world actually is.
Actually, the practical and the
the
ideal.
greys,
Yeah,
absolutely. There are no blacks and white.
What I
black
think
and
BJP
white,
has
but-
done right with the temple,
Yes.
I think what has happened is that,
Right.
which is extremely important and significant to my mind when we talk about the global exposure, is
Right.
that with the temple being, finally happening after so
Yes.
many years, decades, centuries, whatever number you want to ascribe to it,
Right.
the youth, has got, so to say, motivated by this entire
Yes.
Ram movement. When the youth gets motivated, you've seen what is happening in some of the metro trains, across metros in India.
Right.
There are these Ram tunes being played.
Yes.
There is, a rap around it. There
Right.
is music around it. There is that resonance.
Yes.
So when they travel globally, I think, they will carry the Ram message as much as probably an ambassador in his or her wisdom would do.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for putting that in so succinctly, Mr. Khar. And I'd like to thank our guests as well this evening, Ami Ganatra, Neena Rai, Ambassador Gupta, and of course, Mr. Rakesh Khar, to
Thank
talk
you.
about how the BJP and indeed the government has taken the Ram and Ramayana beyond just the temple, beyond just the civilizational connect. It's looking at continuing the Ram wave across the world, making it a cultural icon of India, a representative of Indian culture, civilizational connect of India with the rest of the world. The Ram wave as we see it, 2024.
Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.